I have absolutely zero interest in being a dating coach, a pickup artist, guru, or anything like that. I have studied pickup, I have used pickup, but I don't have any desire to, to teach it or to, make a business out of it, anything like that. I have zero desire to do that. I still highly endorse Mode 1 as well as his other books, The Beta Male Revolution and The Possibility of Sex.
Mode 1.
I think that they are vital books to have in any man's library.
I have to agree with you on the communication piece, because I actually did take a session with Alan Roger Currie, and he gave me a line that I did not think was going to work, and it worked. And I was like, what the fuck?
Oh my God!
Man, he's the master. He's the master of the verbal seduction. He got that communication piece down pat.
It really worked. Yeah. It just simply worked, and I just didn't think it was going to work at all.
So, I'm glad you mentioned Alan Roger Currie, because, we're talking about the mouthpiece part of the four cornerstones of the game. We talked about the trap, and now we're talking about the mouthpiece. And see, that is what, me and Alan Roger Currie have talked about this. The number one thing a lot of black men need to work on very strongly is their verbal communication skills. You have to be effective communicators, not just with women, but in life in general. But here we're talking about women. You have to be an effective communicator, man. There is something to be said for the complaints on the part of some sisters in terms of they're not appreciating the lack of communication skills that a goodly number of brothers exhibit. You have to be able to be an effective communicator. Now, why is Mode 1 important?
Would say you
Mode 1 is important because Mode 1 is focusing on verbal communication. There's many different forms of pickup. It's like what I read in Neil Stiles Strauss's book, The Game. He starts a chapter with the words "pick a dojo." I mean, there's many different styles, man. It's like the Wu-Tang Clan. You got the Hungar style kung fu. You got the flying guillotine. You got the iron monkey style. You got all kinds of shit, man. So there's no one way to do pickup. Now, the Mode 1 form of pickup focuses on being upfront, straightforward in your verbal communication in terms of your romantic and or sexual intention in a woman. So in order for you to be effective, you have to first be an effective communicator. You have to be your communication has to be clear and unambiguous. You know what I mean? And a lot of brothers have trouble in terms of being a good verbal communicator.
Well, some people are predictable. And the excerpt you just heard was they were doing an episode of Obsidian Alis' old Blog Talk radio show. I think it was back in 2016. They did an episode called The Four Tenets of Game. The Four Tenets of Game. And it featured Obsidian Ali, my fellow dating advisor Ron Wills, and BGS Ibmore. And it might have been one other person, but I don't think it was. I think it was mainly those three. And it's interesting. It's funny how those three used to be on Blog Talk Radio and be real cool, and now they hardly ever speak to each other. And of course, obviously, I'm included in that category. Starting with roughly November of 2015 all the way up until the time we fell out in early June of 2017, this brother used to promote the shit out of my books. I mean, I'm talking about like 4 out of every 5 podcasts he did on his Blog Talk radio show and or his YouTube show, he would promote one or more of my books. He would always, if I had to rank in order, number 1 book he would promote was The Possibility of Sex. He loved that book so much, he actually wanted to sponsor a book signing event for that book. Yeah, he actually wanted to finance a book signing event, but I didn't have it in paperback form. So you can really only do a book signing if you have it in paperback form. Possibility of Sex is only in ebook and audiobook form. I don't have that in paperback form, at least not yet. But that's no one book I would say he promoted the most. He did a whole episode on the possibility of sex. Even though he didn't carefully read that book. And I'll get to that a little later in this video. He didn't carefully read that book, even though he wanted to do a book signing about that book. Second most book I would say he promoted was The Beta Male Revolution. Once I came out with that in June of 2016. He promoted the shit out of The Beta Male Revolution. I would say third would probably be Mode 1, which is what you heard him promoting in the excerpt, in the intro. The one book, a major book of mine he's never really promoted is Who Said Again. He never really promoted Who Said Again. Matter of fact, he actually offered at least one criticism of Who Said Again. He said that he feels like, I'm going to be paraphrasing his words, but essentially he said he doesn't feel like you can teach somebody how to become a verbal seducer. He basically argues that stuff like verbal seduction skills and erotic dirty talk skills is something you either born with or you not. Like it's either natural or you just don't have it. He doesn't believe that somebody like me, like a dating coach, can teach a guy how to be a more persuasive and charming verbal seducer and a master of kinky erotic dirty talk. Well, I got emails and testimonials that prove I'm wrong. Because I've had clients, particularly my one-on-one face-to-face clients, that have given me testimonials saying that I was the one who basically taught them how to become a better verbal seducer and how to be better at erotic dirty talk. So I know for a fact you can't teach a man to do that. But anyway, that's the main reason why he's never really promoted Who Said Again. So yeah, the main thing that made us fall out in early June of 2017 was that it had to do with the murderous incel Elliot Rodger. I don't want to get into that whole long story because it's pretty long details. But in this show, I felt like he made some comments on my YouTube channel essentially defending the mental illness of Elliot Rodger. And I didn't like it. And so I basically told him, I said, I don't want you to promote my books anymore. I said, I don't want you to promote my books anymore. He was a combination of angry and hurt over that decision. And here's the interesting thing. At first he said he wasn't going to talk about me no more. He wrote me an email. I could show the email. I'm not going to do it in this video, but if I wanted to, I could. He literally sent me an email. He said, I'm never going to mention your name again. I'm never going to mention your books again. He was basically like, fuck you, Alan. Fuck you, man. I promoted you without you even paying me money for it. I took time. I promoted all your books, and this is how you do me. And he was like, man, I ain't going to talk. I ain't going to mention your name no more. I ain't going to promote none of your books. And less than 48 hours after he sent me that email saying that he wasn't going to talk about me no more and mention my books no more, he did almost just the opposite. He spent his next few YouTube podcasts talking almost exclusively about me. And the reason why that backstory is relevant to this particular video is this is what makes him such an interesting person. See, here's how I'll start off with myself. And I'm sure some people have done this before, so I'm not going to say he's like the first person in the history of human beings to do this. But I'll just say this. You've listened to me and heard me promote certain people's books. Like if I had to name a couple off the top of my head, would be Daniel Berger's book, What Do Women Want? That's probably the number one book I promoted. Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Stephanie Coombs' book, Marriage, A History. And I can name a few others. Now, most of those people I don't have a personal relationship. I had one email exchange with Dr. Stephen Covey before he passed away. So we did interact once. Daniel Berger, I interviewed him on my Blog Talk radio show. I interviewed Robert Greene, author of 48 Laws of Power. I've actually interviewed a lot of notable, well-known, well-respected book authors. But I'm the type of guy, man, I would never promote somebody's book and then turn around and start dogging them out. And that's essentially what Obsidian has done with me starting with June of 2017. To put it in real simple terms, he rarely, if ever, criticizes the message, i.e. the contents of my books, but he loves to criticize the messenger. He rarely criticizes the message, i.e. the contents of my books, but he loves, ever since we fell out, he loves to criticize the messenger. And to me, that's ridiculous. I don't see how you can do that. That's just me. I don't see how you can do that. Like, that would be like me telling people to buy Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, but then turn around saying, but I got to let you know, I think Stephen Covey's an asshole. I think he's just a narcissistic dickwad. But hey, go buy his book. Or Daniel Berger, I think he's a blue pill, effeminate beta male. But hey, you should go out and buy his book. What do women want? But man, he sucks as a person. That's essentially what Obsidian has done to me. Again, beginning with roughly June of 2017. He never criticizes my books. You'll never hear him specifically criticize the possibility of sex. He never criticizes the beta male revolution. And he never criticizes Mode 1. Well, he has actually given a couple minor criticisms of Mode 1 since we fell out, but not too many. But yet, this dude has publicly called me a narcissistic sociopath. He's called me unintelligent. Yep, he's called me unintelligent. What else is criticisms has he thrown my way? The most recent one, I'll just get to the most recent one instead of trying to think of things off the top of my head. The most recent one, which is the reason for this video, as you know, I did a video 2 days ago on Monday. Then he did, or was that yesterday? Yeah, I can't remember when that was. Was that yesterday I did that video or 2 days ago? I'm getting old, I'm losing my memory. I can't remember if that was yesterday or 2 days ago. I think it was Monday, but it might have been yesterday. Today is Wednesday. Anyway, I did the video talking about negative men on YouTube, and I put particular emphasis on a lot of black men who I think are just negative. They have what I feel are negative, defeatist attitudes towards the whole general idea of dating and relationships. They never have anything positive to say about women, and particularly emphasis on black women. And they really never have anything positive to say about just the general nature of dating and relationships in general. And I took it a step further. I said, not only are there a lot of men, and particularly black men, who maintain negative attitudes, but a lot of men, I've literally read comments where men, not only exclusively black men, but I'm paying more attention to black men, but I've even seen non-black men tell men you shouldn't date women. And some of them have even gone as far as to say you shouldn't have casual sex with women. And I basically asked the question that if you're telling men not to date women and not to engage in casual sex with them, what does that say about you? What does that say about you? To me, I basically propose that means you're either gay, bisexual / heteroflexible, or at bare minimum, you're aspiring to be a voluntarily celibate monk. What's one of those three? If you're a YouTube personality / podcaster, or the follower and supporter of a YouTube personality or podcaster, and you have either made comments verbally or in written form, you've told other men you should not date women in today's dating climate, and even more so, you shouldn't even engage in casual sex with women in today's dating climate. What does that say about you? So that was the essence of my video. Now, one of the things I criticized when me, Obsidian Alis in that video was I said, this dude over the last 2 years, he has an incredibly bad habit of taking my words and twisting them out of context. I'm almost convinced he does it intentionally. I don't think it's inadvertent He intentionally does it. He does it intentionally. I'm like 99.9% sure he does it intentionally. And his most recent example was this last video. He said that I said that all black men in the manosphere were gay. That's what he told his listeners. He said that on my video that I said that all black men in the manosphere were gay, and more specifically that he was gay. Insert dog face here. Anybody who listens to my video know all of those are false. I never said that all men in the manosphere were gay. I never said all black men in the manosphere were gay. And I never specifically said that Mumia Obsidian Ali was gay. I never said that. I never said that. And I dare anybody to suggest otherwise. I never said that. Matter of fact, I know for a fact that Mumia Obsidian Ali is at least bisexual, if not heterosexual. I know he's not gay. At minimum, if anything, he might be hetero-flexible. But I know he has a lady friend. I know for a fact, like one of my followers asked, they said, Alan, I've heard Obsidian mention this lady friend, but he's never showed a picture of her. I've never heard her voice. So I think it's imaginary. Now, I actually know two people in the manosphere that have actually met Obsidian's lady friend in person, face to face. Yep. Alex, a.k.a. Don Calypso, and Donovan Sharp. Yeah, Alex, a.k.a. Don Calypso, and Donovan Sharp are the two guys I know who've actually met Obsidian's lady friend. So he does have one. He does have one. They've seen her in person. Which is interesting in itself. Let's pause on that point for a second. This guy earns his living bashing black women, harshly criticizing black women, oftentimes insulting them, throwing ad hominem attacks their way, but yet he's in a long-standing relationship with a black woman. What does that say about him and his lady friend? What does that say about him and his lady friend? I mean, seriously, you got to ask that question. What does that say about him as well as his lady friend? I'll put it in terms of me. Like, everybody knows I'm in a relationship with a young black woman who's actually half my age. If my girlfriend was a podcaster and all I heard her do on her podcast is bash black men and say harshly critical things about them and just regularly insult them and just more than anything else, just loosely generalize them, loosely generalize the entire black male gender, do you think I would be enthusiastic about staying with her? Fuck no. Fuck no. I would never stay with no woman like that. Now, I've had women who I've dated who might have criticized specific individual black men, like, I don't know, like their ex-husband or a former fiance or ex-boyfriend or former casual sex lover of theirs. You know, specific individual people. I don't have no problem with that. But I couldn't be in a relationship with somebody that was always loosely generalizing my entire gender. I would never be in a relationship with a woman like that. She would get kicked to the curb so quick. So it makes me question his lady friend, that she tolerates him dogging out black women the way he does. I mean, she got to be kind of fucked up in the head to allow that shit. Real talk. Real talk. She got to be kind of fucked up in the head. She must, in her mind, agree with the vast majority of his criticisms and insults. So that lets me know that she must have negative feelings about her own race and gender. She has negative feelings about her own race and gender to stay with him. They've been together for like 7 years. They've been together for like 7 years. So that was the first thing he said in his response video. He said he tried to suggest that I said that all black men in the manosphere were gay, and more specifically that he was gay. No, I never said that. I said that if you're a man in the manosphere, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, and you're specifically telling other men not to date women, and even more so not to even engage in short-term non-monogamous casual sex with women, basically not to have any sexual interaction with women at all, then I said that tells me that you're either gay, bisexual / heteroflexible, or at bare minimum, you're aspiring to be some type of voluntarily celibate monk. And I'm not in favor of either of those three. I am a men's dating coach for heterosexual men who are looking to have sex with women. That's what I'm about. That's what I get paid for. That's how I earn my living. I help men connect with women so that they can have sex with those women, whether it's long-term sex, short-term sex, strictly monogamous sex, or non-monogamous sex. My job is to share my knowledge, wisdom, insight, and general advice with men so I can help them connect with one or more women so that they can fuck those women. Again, either fuck them within the context of long-term monogamous relationship, a long-term non-monogamous sexual relationship, a short-term monogamous sexual relationship, or a short-term non-monogamous sexual relationship, which is the only 4 types of sexual relationship you can have with a woman. Every sexual relationship you have with a woman is going to fall in one of those 4 categories. Long-term monogamous, long-term non-monogamous, short-term monogamous, or short-term non-monogamous. The second thing he said in his video, next to twisting my words, taking them out of context, and suggesting that I called him gay. Is he gay? You got to ask him. I don't know about his sexuality. Again, I told you, 2 people in the manosphere have verified that he does have a lady friend. But there are things called beards. You know what a beard is? A beard is a man who's married or in a relationship with a woman. He gives off the public impression that he's a heterosexual, but he's actually behind closed doors. He's either gay, he's either homosexual, or a bisexual. That's called a beard. A beard. So I don't know enough about his sex life, and I don't really care. The second thing he said, this is, again, here's the main basis of this video. He made this argument. He's made this argument on at least 2, 3, maybe as many as 4 videos of his. He's been borrowing my fellow dating advisor, Ron Wills. Ron Wills has these terms that I don't use in my books and in most of my videos. I don't use these terms. So when I use them, I do always like to give proper credit attribution to Ron Wills. But Ron Wills has this categories of select and non-select men. Select and non-select men. Again, I don't use those terms in my books. My 4 categories of men, as most people know, I have 2 sets of 4 categories. One set is total alpha male, an alpha male with a few beta traits, a beta male with a few alpha traits, and a total beta male. That's my 4 main categories of men. Then more informally, my 4 categories of men is men who are what I call fuck buddy material, long-term boyfriend / future husband material, trick / sugar daddy / long-term financial provider material, and then purely platonic friend material. So that's my 4 categories. But again, Ron, he uses select versus, I want to say, I don't know, I don't want to misquote his descriptions or definitions. I want to say, when you're a select man, that means that women find you so romantically and sexually desirable that they will select you to be either their fuck buddy or their long-term romantic companion / future spouse. That's kind of what I would surmise is the general definition of select. Whereas non-select is a man that most women wouldn't consider to be really physically attractive, They really wouldn't consider him to have an above average degree of masculine sex appeal. Personality-wise, they consider him either boring or irritating or just effeminate or extremely beta. And they just really wouldn't want to share his company sexually other than if that man was offering to spend a significant amount of money on them. Yeah, they wouldn't really want to spend time with that man sexually or romantically unless that man was offering to spend an exorbitant amount of money on them. Now, again, that's my perception of select. That's not my term, so I don't want to try to define Rom's terms, because that's not my terms. Just like I wouldn't want Rom trying to explain the 4 modes of behavior when that's not his stuff. But this is what Obsidian said. He made this really emphatic proclamation that select fuckboys have ruined today's dating scene. This goes back to my video I did last Saturday. Remember last Saturday I was talking about who should shoulder the blame for the flaws and weaknesses of today's dating scene. And I essentially said, number one, you can't put 90 to 99% of blame on men, but you can't put 90 to 99% of the blame on women either. I said in general, both men and women have contributed to the problems, flaws, and weaknesses of today's dating scene. But I actually went as far as to say, I think if I had to lean towards one gender or the other, I would lean more towards men. If I had to put percentage-wise, I would say at minimum, I would put at least 55 to 60% of the blame for today's dating scene, the problems in today's dating scene, on the shoulders of men. Yes, I would. I would put at least 55 to 60% of the blame on men. Why? Because men are supposed to be the leaders. Men are supposed to be the leaders. And the only way women can get away with fucked up behavior towards men is if we as men, both individually and as a group, allow that shit. Allow that shit. Women can't just exhibit fucked up behavior on their own. They can't do it. They have to have male enablers. They have to have male enablers. I give you 1 or 2 examples. One example, I hear men complain about women being materialistic gold diggers. How can a woman be a materialistic gold digger unless she got men who are willing to spend a significant amount of money on her and buy her expensive materialistic gifts? So you can't really put 100% of the blame on women for being materialistic gold diggers if you got men out here that are offering to spend a bunch of money on them and buy them everything they want them to buy. That means at minimum they have male enablers. If you got a bunch of women who treat their husbands like shit, treat their fiancés like shit, treat their boyfriends like shit, my question is, why are those men who are in those marriages or relationships with those women, why are they allowing that shit? See, it's easy to say those women are bitches, but my question is, why are those men who are in relationships with them allowing that shit? So they have male enablers. A lot of men criticize women for being very promiscuous, and along with that, very adulterous and unfaithful. How can a woman be promiscuous unless she got men ready to fuck her? How? How can a woman be promiscuous unless she has men that are ready and willing to engage in 1 or more episodes of short-term non-monogamous casual sex with her? How? How can a woman be unfaithful and adulterous unless she got a man that's willing to fuck her while knowing that she's married, engaged to be married, or in a relationship? And see, this is what I got to point the finger at myself. As you know, when I was between roughly 17 and 37, I used to fuck quite a few women that were married, engaged to be married, or had a long-term boyfriend. Now, here's where I got to bring back in Obsidian endorsing the possibility of sex. This happened last year. If you've been following me for a while, you'll remember this. There was a time in like February or March of last year where Obsidian came out and said, Alan Roger Currie is a, what did he call me? He called me, I want to say, a narcissistic sociopath, because I had admitted for like the third, fourth, or fifth time on one of my YouTube videos that I had slept with women who were married, engaged to be married, or had a boyfriend. He didn't like that. He said he felt like that was the behavior of a narcissistic sociopath. But here's the thing. After he went on his show or his channel and talked about that and called me these names, I called out the fact that I had already confessed that in chapter 9 of my book, The Possibility of Sex, a book that he offered to do a book signing for. Think about that. This man called me a narcissistic sociopath because of the fact that I confessed publicly that I had slept with 35 to 40 women who were either married, engaged to be married, or had a boyfriend. But yet that same information was in a book that he was always promoting and endorsing and was even willing to do a book signing for. You know what he had to do? He had to go on his channel and offer an apology to his listeners for not thoroughly reading my book. I forced him to have to make an apology. He had to. Because if he didn't make that apology, it would have made him look stupid, because people would be like, why were you endorsing a book that in the book, Alan Roger Currie openly says that he slept with other men's women? Checkmate. Alan Roger Currie, checkmate. I'm a bad motherfucker, man. I'm a bad motherfucker. I don't play checkers, man. I play chess. Checkmate. Obsidian ain't never forced me to make no apology. Ever. He ain't never forced me to make no apology on shit. I've forced him to make at least 3 apologies since we've known each other, to his listeners and viewers. At least three apologies. Who's playing checkers and who's playing chess? I'm playing chess, because I'd be checkmating this motherfucker on the regular. He ain't never checkmated me to the point where I had to retract something I said or apologize for something I said. Never. He's never done it. He's never got me to a point where I had to come on my channel and either retract something I said and or apologize for something I said. I've forced him to do that at minimum at least 3 times. And that was one of those times. But anyway, one of the reasons why I mentioned to my listeners that I stopped being that other man for women is because, see, I realized I was being a male enabler. I was being a male enabler. I was enabling women to be adulterous and if they were married or if they're unmarried, unfaithful. I was enabling them to do that. So my attitude is, it's just like, I remember, C. Boogie Bear was talking about this one time. He's talking about, he's heard men criticize women for being single moms, even though some of these men who were criticizing single moms were men who had babies out of wedlock. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. How can you criticize a woman for being a single mom, but yet you got at least one son or at least one daughter out of wedlock? See, this is the shit I'm talking about. And this is one reason why I said that men, to me, shoulder no less than 55 to 60% of them. Because for a lot of aspects of women's fuckery in society, if you really analyze it, I ain't gonna say in 100% of cases, but in a lot of cases, men enabled their fuckery. Men enabled they allowed it and or enabled it. They allowed it and or enabled it. So yeah, that's why I put most. But anyway, he said that his thing now is he believes that men. Now he used the term fuckboy. This is an interesting term because that's not a term. You know, I didn't even know what that term. I never even heard that term until about maybe a year and a half ago. Like in my real life, people I interact with, like in real life, face to face, nobody I know uses that term, fuckboy. to me, that's almost more of a social media term, internet term, YouTube term for me. Now, for young people, I'm sure a lot of young people probably use that term when they're, face to face with one another. But the people who I socialize with in my real life, nobody, male or female, uses that term, man. Fuckboy. I had to go to the Urban Dictionary to find out what a fuck. It turns out, essentially, there's no one. Here's the problem with that term, fuckboy. There's no one definition of that. At minimum, there's at least 3 definitions. Technically, I would say more. But at minimum, there's at least 3 definitions for fuckboy. One definition is simply a guy who's like a womanizer. A guy who regularly engages in short-term, non-monogamous sex with women. Basically, what I would call a fuck buddy type guy. Remember I talked about my 4 roles, and one of the roles is fuck buddy, the casual lover / fuck buddy role. Yeah, one definition of fuck boy is a guy who just is that guy. I've been in that role where there was definitely a large stretch in my 20s and 30s where I was predominantly women's fuck buddies, more so than being their boyfriends. I was just their fuck buddies. Second definition, so first definition of a fuckboy is just somebody who's essentially just a womanizer or player, guy who regularly engages in casual sex with women. Number 2 is similar to number 1, but a little different. If you notice with me, because of my book Mode 1, I always distinguish between honest womanizers and dishonest womanizers. See, to me, that only an honest womanizer is what I call a player. I know a lot of men and women use that term loosely. I don't. And y'all know I've done at least 2 videos about that. I'm very pedantic and meticulous about the use of the word player. I only call guys who are honest womanizers players. If you're a lying, misleading, and manipulative womanizer, to me, you're not a player. You're a dog. That's what I would call a dog or a pig, or if nothing else, just simply a lying womanizer. That was the second definition of a fuckboy that I found on Urban Dictionary. A fuckboy is a guy who gets a lot of pussy from women, but he's not honest about the fact that he wants just short-term, non-monogamous casual sex. He basically lies to women and misleads women into believing that he wants a long-term, emotionally profound, monogamous relationship, but then after he gets the pussy, he just dumps those women, fucks and dumps those women. That was the second definition of a fuckboy. Third definition of fuckboy was a guy who engages in a lot of casual sex, but on top of that, he's frequently broke, unemployed, depends on women for money, like what I would call a kept man. You've heard me use different definitions. One of my terminology is a kept man. A kept man is the male equivalent to a woman being a sugar baby. A kept man. Yeah, that's when a kept man is when a woman is basically paying you for your dick. She's helping you out with your bills. She buys you clothes. She treats you to dinner, gives you free meals. Sometimes just gives you straight up cash money. Yeah, that means if you got, I've been a kept man at least twice in my life. When I was in my 30s, I was a kept man, if only briefly. Yeah, that was the third definition of a fuckboy. So there was a minimum of 3 definitions of a fuckboy. One is just simply a basic womanizer. Number 2 was a lying, misleading, and manipulative type womanizer. And number 3 was a guy who tends to act as a kept man and basically exchanges his dick for financial favors and materialistic gifts. All 3 of those were categorized as fuckboys. And the argument that Obsidian has made is that fuckboys have ruined. He basically said that promiscuous women and select fuckboys have ruined the dating scene. He said it's not those 4 categories I talked about on my video last Saturday, if you remember. I highlighted 4 categories of men who I felt like most contributed to the flaws and weaknesses in today's dating scene. And let me give you a quick recap of those 4 categories. Group number 1 that I said contributed to the flaws and weaknesses of today's dating scene are men who are simply very naive and inexperienced with women and do not fully understand women's true sexual nature and what motivates women's sexual duplicity and manipulative tendencies. And along with that, I would say they're materialistic tendencies. Yeah, men who are just, in simple terms, naive and inexperienced. What most people would call a blue pill type guy. A blue pill type guy. The number 2 group of guys I said that have negatively affected today's dating scene is men who lack balls and backbone. Men who lack balls and backbone. They don't have the confidence and courage to let women know why they really want to share women's company. And they don't have the ability to prevent other people from bullying them, browbeating them, or taking advantage of them and exploiting them. And just blatantly disrespecting them and manipulating them. Group number 3 of the guys who I said have heavily contributed to the flaws and weaknesses in today's dating scene is men who intentionally seek to lie to women, intentionally seek to mislead and manipulate women, and just generally seek to toy with women's emotions and engage in head games with women. Now, here's what's interesting. Now, Obsidian said he felt like none of my 4 categories have contributed to the flaws and weaknesses in today's dating scene, but rather it's select fuckboys who have contributed the most heavily to the problems. But in my opinion, based on the definitions I've read of a fuckboy, fuckboys would fall into group number 3. Fuckboys would fall into group number 3. One definition of fuckboys is guys who lie to women and mislead and manipulate women in order to get them in bed. In other words, they're not straight up with women about the fact that they just want 1 or more episodes of short-term non-monogamous casual sex. They make women think they want long-term sex when they really want short-term sex. They lead women on to believe that they want a strictly monogamous sexual relationship when they really want a non-monogamous sexual relationship. So, fuckboys fall into group number 3. So he was wrong in saying that none of my 4 groups are valid. Group number 3 is very valid if he wants to argue that fuckboys have contributed to what's wrong with today's dating scene. They very much fall into group number 3. And then finally, group number 4. Group number 4 was basically misogynists. Men who have a high degree of anger, bitterness, and resentment toward women to the point where all they want to do is criticize women, insult women, and intentionally antagonize women. And in some more extreme cases, these men are tempted to physically harm women, rape or date rape women, or even kidnap and torture women and or murder them. So you gonna tell me, Obsidian, that murderous incels aren't contributing to the problem? Guys like Elliot Rodger? If you're going to say fuckboys are the main problem, fuckboys are guys who get pussy. Elliot Rodger wasn't getting no pussy, but yet he killed some bitches. Shit, I'll take a womanizer over a murderous incel in society any day. Any fucking day. Shit. I would rather live in a world that's full of highly promiscuous womanizers than to live in a world that got romantically and sexually frustrated incel types and misogynist types who want to physically harm, rape, date rape, and murder women. Shit, it ain't even a contest. It ain't even a contest. So I'm sitting, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Select fuckboys are the ones who ruin. No, are those 4 groups? I would say guys in group number 4 are more of a danger to society than the other 3 groups. And I would add right behind group number 4, I would say it's group number 3. It's group number 3. I think all 4 of my categories of men are valid as far as who has contributed to the flaws and weaknesses of today's dating scene. But I would say definitely group guys in group number 3 and group number 4. Group number 3, which is fuckboys, by one definition, fuckboys, and murder, incels, and misogynists who have homicidal and or suicidal tendencies. Homicidal, violent, homicidal, and or suicidal tendencies. Shit, I'd take a womanizer over that any day. Shit. Are there some types of womanizers who do damage in the dating scene? Yes. I won't say that all the womanizers. I already could acknowledge my where I contributed, where I felt like I was contributed, was simply by having sex with women who were married, engaged to be married, or had boyfriends. That's where I felt like I was a male enabler of women's, for lack of a better word, fuckery. I was a male enabler of women's fuckery by sleeping with women who were married, engaged to be married. And that's why at the age of 38, I stopped. Other men who are womanizer types that you could argue negatively contribute to the dating scene. Men who get women pregnant, but then don't want to support their son or daughter, don't want to financially support that child, and just simply leave that woman as a single mom. They create that woman as a single mom. You could argue that those men in that category are contributing to some of the problems in today's dating scene. Men who toy with women's emotions. Again, guys in group number 3. That's why I did that video. I did a video in the last month called Never Leave a Woman in Worse Condition Than You Found Her. I try never to leave a woman mentally or emotionally damaged. Mentally or emotionally damaged. And a lot of men in group number 3 are guilty of that. They leave women mentally and emotionally damaged. What are some other men in society, particularly womanizing type men? Oh, men who spread STDs. Men who are giving STDs to women, particularly HIV, herpes, yeah. So that would be my third category, men, is men who sleep with a lot of women casually and they don't have a clean dick. They have a dirty dick, an unhealthy dick. Those are men. I don't fall in none of those categories. I've never had a baby out of wedlock, although I almost did. I'll openly admit I almost did when I was in college. So I almost had a baby out of wedlock when I was in college, but my college girlfriend had an abortion. Number 2, I don't mislead women. I don't lie to women. I don't mislead or manipulate them or toy with their emotions to get them in bed. And I've never had an STD in my life. Let me knock on wood. I always knock on wood. I've never had an STD literally in my entire life. Never, ever. And I've had raw dog sex with quite a few women. I've never had an STD. I've never tested positive for an STD. Some men, let's just keep shit real, man. Some men don't like womanizers because they jealous of them. I ain't going to get, for purpose of time, I'm not going to get in a lengthy soapbox, but man, I can't tell you how many men I've had in my life who wanted to start fights with me or said negative things about me simply because they were jealous and envious that they weren't getting the quantity of pussy that I was and or the quality of pussy that I was. I did a whole video last year on player haters where I said men are natural player haters, man. Man, I've had so many men that have player hated on me in my life. I remember C Boogie, the first time he interviewed me on his live stream, he pointed that out. He said he could tell that about me. He said, Alan, man, one thing I could tell about you, like at least one chip on your shoulder you have, I can tell you have a passionate hatred for guys who you perceive as player hater types, jealous, envious player hater types. And I said, you're right. I do. Starting with my senior in high school, I would say arguably all the way up until now. I hate guys who are player haters, man. Guys who either at maximum try to start fights with you because they're jealous of your popularity with women, or at minimum, they're always trying to criticize you or insult you because they're jealous and envious of your popularity with women. I don't like hanging around. I've never hung around guys like that. That's why when I was in my 20s and 30s, and even to a large extent my 40s and 50s, I've always generally liked hanging around other guys who were ladies' men / womanizer type guys. Because they don't hate on you. Other men who are ladies' men themselves and womanize themselves, they don't hate on you, man. But guys who've never been a ladies' man or womanizer, them guys always hating on you, man. I've been dealing with that shit, particularly, man, when I was in my 20s. Oh, my goodness. I would say between roughly 17 and mid to late 30s. Oh, my goodness, I dealt with so many haters. You know, I mentioned this once before, my current girlfriend, she didn't even know that much about my background. She even said that. She was looking at some old pictures of me, and she said, baby, I bet you've been player hated on practically your entire life, haven't you? I said, yep. I've had some female people in my comment section say the same thing. Some women who comment sometimes in my comment section, they say, Alan, I don't even know that much about you, but I can tell just looking at you, and particularly your old pictures, like from your 20s and 30s, I can tell that men have player hated on you like ad nauseum. And I'm like, yep. All right, in my Patreon exclusive portion, my last Patreon video was about self-improvement. I'm just going to further elaborate on that in today's Patreon exclusive portion.